let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
I'm John.
And I'm Kevin.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down.
We're going to get into the nitty-gritty and examine the good, the bad, the ugly, and the laughable in these movies.
But we're always coming from a place of love. You don't watch these movies as much as we have unless you have a genuine affection for them.
Well, Kevin.
Hey, John.
We meet again.
Yes, indeed. We're 90% more sober than we were the last time you heard from us.
Yeah, I went back and listened to that episode. I was like, oh, that's so cringeworthy, man. I was like, that is not my finest hour at all.
I love it. But we're back on our bourbon shit.
Yeah, we're fucked up now.
What we had a taste of Smoke Wagon small batch, which is exactly what I'm looking for in a bourbon. Mm-hmm. Now we've moved on to a Christmas gift I received from John here.
You're welcome.
From
Happy
Matchbook
Christmas.
Distilling.
Yeah, Matchbook Distilling in Greenport, New York.
It's called Meta Modernity. It's like a 4-grain. It's heavy on oats.
Yeah, it's a really wild mash bill than a typical bourbon or a high wheat or rye bourbon. It's got oat and barley, and you can taste it.
Yeah.
If you've ever spent time in a stable, it sort of smells like when you are feeding a horse, but in a good way.
It's very
sweet
different.
Barn smell.
It's different, which is refreshing in its own way.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about an action movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. It's our first ever foray into Steven Seagal's catalog.
His output. His oeuvre.
He's a fairly questionable human being, it seems like.
Yeah, I wrote some stuff. We'll get into his bio in a second, but it's like you said it perfectly that he's got this weird like Frank Dukes. No, it's Dukes. Frank Dukes mystique about him.
Oh, like put up your Dukes.
And no, I can't quite figure out how or why someone like him became famous.
Yeah. I don't get it. We're talking about his most famous movie, his biggest hit.
Yeah.
I guess, Under Siege.
Which was Die Hard on a Boat.
Die Hard on a Boat. It was one of the many Die Hard, spin-off movies. We'd already did Passenger 57.
Right.
Die Hard on a Plane. This is Die Hard on a battleship.
And I read that this was the original idea was supposed to have been like Die Hard in a casino.
Oh, for this particular Under Siege?
Like one of the people that wrote it, or maybe the original, one of the things that was originally pitched was...
Like a massive heist?
It takes place in a casino. And there's a guy undercover there, and like...
I'd be into that.
Yeah.
But
it never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting.
I also read where they were far along on the process for making...
too far along.
For making Die Hard 3, which is going to be Die Hard John McClane on a cruise ship.
Oh.
And then this movie came out, and
they were
like, well, let's go back to the drawing board. Thank God, because Die Hard on a cruise ship sounds bad. I mean, that was Speed 2. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, the same premise.
It made me wonder if that script ultimately became Speed 2.
Right.
Cruise Control.
Boo.
Which is weird. Oh, yeah, they were on a cruise. Fuck. I only just got that.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was like you put your car in cruise control.
You're so drunk.
I'm so drunk. I'm really not. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
The day is young. The day is young.
Don't worry. So, yeah, this movie's directed by Andrew Davis.
Yeah.
Of Fugitive fame.
Yes.
Did you ever see Holes? He directed Holes.
No, I never watched Holes.
So I think it was like the generation or like people that were a few years younger than you and I were saw Holes and like raved about. I think Shia
was it supposed to be good?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be pretty damn good. And then more recently, The Guardian, that Kevin Costner and Ashton Kutcher Coast Guard movie.
I'm trying to think if I watched that. I don't think I did, but I know of it. Yeah.
My uncle said it was good, which means it's probably fine.
But before this, he was doing like a bunch of B action movies and horror flicks. Mm-hmm. He directed Seagal in Above the Law. before this. He did a thriller called The Package, which I watched with Gene Hackman and Tommy Lee Jones, which I was just like, I got to watch this.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be really good.
It was mediocre-ish.
Oh, that's a shame.
But the success of this, catapulted him into the next movie, The Fugitive, which was a fucking all-timer, great movie.
Yeah. His Oscar win, right? Supporting actor, best supporting actor?
Yeah, for Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah, absolutely. A great fucking movie. Love The Fugitive.
Written by J.F. Lawton, who wrote Pretty Woman.
Yeah. And he wrote Blank Man, which I never watched.
Oh, with Damon Wayans?
The Damon Wayans,
he's a superhero.
Sort of superhero spoof movie.
Yeah.
But
I don't think I ever saw it. I remember the previews and my parents being like, you can't see that. I was like, racist.
That's an odd range of movies, though, to have written. Yeah. I thought for sure this dude Lawton was former Navy or something, because this movie has a lot of authenticity to it.
Totally.
He must have had somebody chirping in his ear like a good technical advisor,
Yeah, I agree with that. Having watched at least part of the movie now and being like, it seems legit.
All the lingo is spot on, I feel like, and the logistics of it are very sound. Produced by Arnon Milchan, fucking legendary dude. His list of credits is too long to mention, but some of my favorites that he had done were he did King of Comedy. Ma, I gotta do this now.
Oh man, I've been on a Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin rabbit hole for the past week and a half now.
Okay.
Just fascinated by the story of that duo.
Did they like each other?
They were like, I'm not unconvinced that there wasn't a homoerotic relationship, that they were a thing there, which it's because when it's like these two guys loved each other, and then they just, for whatever reason, they just fell apart. They were together for 10 years, is on top of the world, and then they disbanded for whatever reason. No one, it's not documented. And then it's tragic because they were fucking brilliant. Jerry Lewis is a madman.
I don't know him really from much other than King of Comedy.
Yeah. You should go back and watch some YouTube videos of he was Jim
Nutty
Carrey
Professor
before Jim
and all
Carrey.
that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this dude Milton, he also produced Heat.
Okay.
Produced LA Confidential. Produced Birdman and The Revenant.
Good stuff.
This dude's been around forever. Produced Widows, which I love. I don't know if you saw that movie. And he did this year, or last year now, he did that movie Barbarian. The surprise success horror movie, which is worth checking out. Also produced by a dude named Steven Reuter, who had produced a few good things. Striking Distance, which I love, a Bruce Willis movie. Ghost in the Darkness.
Oh yeah, with Val.
Yeah, and produced Face Off, which we'll have to do that.
Oh my god,
that's a nutty movie.
Insane.
If you want to see Travolta and Cage just both cranked to 11,
just gnawing on everything, gnawing on each other.
And produced by Steven Seagal, apparently. He had a credit.
I guess
anyway.
he'd been stringing together successes at a rate to where by this point he was like, I can throw some money at myself.
Give me a credit.
Let me do it. I'll throw some money at myself.
Let me get a producer credit. Is that even a good impression? I don't know.
He just whispers. He sort of sounds like a Brando thing going on. I don't even know.
Where's he from? No one knows.
No one knows where he's from. I feel like
I would have thought he was from Chicago, but I don't think he is from Chicago.
I've got the IMDb pulled up right now. Steven Seagal, where are you from? Where were you born?
Parts unknown.
Lansing, Michigan. The Midwest's own. Lansing, Michigan. Born to parents Patricia Ann and Samuel. A high school math teacher his dad was. Paternal grandparents were Russian Jewish immigrants.
His story is questionable. We'll get to that.
The enigmatic Seagal is what this bills him as. He wrote it himself. He wrote his IMDb bio himself.
Music by a dude named Gary Chang. Did you check him out?
I did. So, and it has prompted me to suggest here live on the air that we need to do a 6 Degrees of the Island of Dr. Moreau spinoff series, because holy fuck, everyone who was anyone at the time was doing something with Island of Dr. Moreau. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. He also did the soundtrack for the score for the Andersonville miniseries. Did you ever watch that on TNT?
Oh yeah,
I think it was.
That, I'm sure
it was awesome. Georgia's own Civil War prison. Yeah. And then he also did Tango and Cash.
I saw that. He was uncredited as Tango and Cash, which I vaguely remember that from our Tango and Cash series.
It was one of the ones with like the
Faltermeyer wrote the themes, but I think he pieced out and like let someone else just come in and utilize those themes to write other filler music.
Was one of the ones that had like the weird electronic harmonica thing happening?
Yes.
Oh man. So yeah, Gary Chang did a fine job on this.
I don't know how he's not the same composer that did the music for The Fugitive, because the music for The Fugitive I feel like is like the same as the music in this movie.
But the music in The Fugitive I think was like an actual orchestra, whereas so much of this shit was like synth.
Some of it really obvious and bad.
Like the main theme that's sort of like that military theme that kind of sounds like the Rock, the military music in the Rock. But it's all synthesized trumpet and shit, and I'm like, ugh.
It's bad. It's
bad.
I
mean, you can't
synthesized
fault him that
horns sound bad.
They probably came to him and he's like, can we hire an orchestra? And they said, fuck no.
No, hell no.
You need to do this on a shoestring, my friend.
But I feel like for sure the director Davis must have gone to the next guy and said, give me some music that sounds like Under Siege.
Yeah,
That's what I like.
Yeah.
So our cast, Steven Seagal in the lead. You want to talk about dudes, though, who struggle to behave like a normal human? I feel like that's Seagal as well. He's cut from the Stallone cloth.
Yeah, so like born in 1952, began martial arts training allegedly at age 7, I guess in karate, but then in the 60s trained in Aikido. So like at 10, 12 years old. Then he'd moved to Japan somehow before 1974, where he earned his first Dan accreditation.
If you believe him.
Yeah. And then he moved back to America and was living in L.A. and allegedly teaching martial arts to wealthy clientele. And that's how he was discovered by he was Michael Ovitz, founder of one of the big agencies in Hollywood, AAC or ACC. I can't remember which one it is.
Should be in movies.
Yeah, I think it was like one of those Van Damme things where the dude like Menachem saw him at a deli and was like, yes,
doing spin kicks behind the counter, cutting the roast beef and doing flying
with
around
a butter knife. And so yeah, this dude Michael Ovitz saw Steven Seagal and was like, this is the second coming of Eastwood, I think is probably what he thought. But this dude, like Seagal, is an inexplicable star. Somehow, like, made his way into international success, somehow pulled Kelly LeBrock, fooled that beautiful woman into marrying him and having children.
Because my checklist for him was terrible actor.
Yeah, check.
No charisma.
None.
Unremarkable.
I will say he's got like 10 to 20% charisma.
Okay. He's unremarkable looking.
Yeah, he's not a handsome man.
He's not like a physical specimen like a Stallone or a Schwarzenegger. He's maybe good at martial arts, maybe. I think that's debatable. I think people have questioned whether he's actually any good at this shit or not.
I think that he might be good in the one like judo, the things that are more defensive techniques, which Aikido is, instead of the ones that are like kung fu or karate where they're like, where you can be on an attack.
He's certainly not flashy with it, but I feel like I've also just heard stuntmen and other people around him being like, he can make it look cool when the other person's playing along, but if there's actually a fight happening, like he'd get beat up.
Right. He probably went and took a course in like teaching basic defensive techniques.
Yeah.
For like a security guard.
It's like that, like self-defense. Like
defense
if he comes at you, you just take his wrist and you twist it like this, and then.
So my favorite thing from his IMDb bio that he probably wrote was Seagal's on-screen characters were often seemingly benign or timid individuals. However, when the going gets rough, which is not the phrase, they reveal themselves to be deadly ex-CIA operatives or retired special forces soldiers capable of enormous destruction with an exclamation mark.
Yeah, either he himself or an agent definitely wrote that.
Anyway, he now has become a Putin fan and thinks that invading Ukraine is very reasonable.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't read that. But by all accounts, he's just also a tremendous piece of shit as a human.
Well, I mean, he likes Putin. He has traveled to Russia on numerous occasions to meet with Putin.
There's no reason he should not be a nice, down-to-earth guy, but apparently he never was. Like, even when he was new on the scene, he was a prick.
Well, then apparently everything after this, like in his movies, he apparently, like, what I read was that he has some very liberal, left-leaning ideas about protecting the earth, women's rights, all these other things, and that he started to insist that those things be included in the plots of his movies, which is why he fell off, because the studios were like, well, we don't want to make a movie about you know, saving the whales.
I remember he had that one about the oil drilling or some shit. I can't remember.
Like, he cares about the environment. He cares about, you know, ecosystems and things like that, the natural order. But he also loves Putin and thinks that invading Ukraine's just fine.
He's a enigma.
Wrapped in an enigma.
wrapped in a Twinkie. but somehow he was briefly a huge star.
Yeah.
Proving that the world is a weird place. He had a string of successful, super low budget action movies that like led up to this one. This was his first big hit. And then he had like 3 or 4 big A-list movies after this. And then he dropped off just as fast and went back to shitty movies.
Yeah, seeing this makes me want to, like, we need to give the treatment to some of his earlier stuff that started to, like, catapult him to fame, because they were, like, wildly well received.
There was one that's on my Blu-ray box set that's over here called Hard to Kill, which would be amazing for us.
Kelly LeBrock.
Oh, was she the woman in that?
I guess.
Okay, I got to check that out. It was so bizarrely strange and weird and not good at all, but it would be great for us, I think.
Perfect.
But I think the one he did with this director, Andrew Davis, was supposed to be good. I didn't see that one. I've also got Executive Decision over here, which I need to rewatch. I feel like every movie, though, should have Seagal dying in the first act. It would be
great. Perfect. Great. Like flying out of a plane.
And the rest of the cast in this movie is great.
It's awesome.
It's a great list of heavy hitter dudes, like tough guys.
You can hardly believe are all in the same movie together.
Yes, I love it. I love when they're on screen together.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So we got Tommy Lee Jones as the unlikely named William Stranix.
I love that.
Never in the history of history has anyone been named Stranix. Mr. Stranix?
And John Matrix.
That's not a buddies. No one's name is Stranix. Anyway, he's a
Oscar winner.
Fucking stud legend. Yeah.
I feel like before this movie, he was doing a bunch of B movies and stuff. And then I feel like this and The Fugitive blew him up to prestige movies. By this time, he had already done. By this time, hadn't he already done Lonesome Dove, the Lonesome Dove miniseries with Robert Duvall? Was he in Coal Miner's Daughter, or am I making that up?
He played Loretta Lynn's husband.
Okay.
Deadbeat.
Always a great actor, but very just craggly and weathered looking from.
He's been 200 years old since he came out of the womb.
You saw Benjamin Button?
Yeah.
That was Tommy Lee Jones.
He's getting older. He was born old and got older. It's like Yoda. He's always been old.
But one of our great actors.
Yeah.
Of all time.
I would say like him and Gene Hackman.
Yes. And Duvall, maybe.
And Robert Duvall, yes, for sure.
Just dudes who have been old forever, and they're amazing.
And are now fading away, man. It's like
they're all like 90 now.
Like Hackman, is he alive still?
I think so, but he's retired from acting.
He's not acting anymore.
Duvall, I just saw in a movie, The Pale Blue Eye on Netflix.
He was in it
Christian
Bale thing?
2 scenes. Yeah.
How was he?
He's great. He's always great. He's just always great.
Does he seem any older than he always has?
Not noticeably. He's seemed old, though, since The Godfather.
Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
He's 200 years old in Days of Thunder.
Yes.
All these guys are 200 years old, I guess. I don't know. Next up, Gary Busey as Angelo Pappas. No, as Commander Krill. Why not name him Plankton?
I love it.
Private Plankton.
Best actor nominated, Gary Busey.
Yeah, which Commander Krill sounds like a SpongeBob character.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. That's lazy writing.
No, it is, but I love it. It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, Oscar winner for Buddy Holly story?
No, sorry, I might have misinformed you. Oscar nominated
for Buddy Holly story.
Best actor nominated.
Yeah.
And then had a
was a great
motorcycle
movie.
Crash and got brain damaged, I think.
But
he was on a good run of action movies.
He was on a tear. Yeah, he was in Lethal Weapon, Point Break, Predator 2, Rookie of the Year.
Hell yes.
and shit tons of other stuff.
Did you see him in Silver Bullet, the Corey Haim werewolf movie?
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
The Drunken Uncle.
Drunken Uncle sounds like a good name for a restaurant or a pub.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man, we should open the Drunken Uncle. We're heading to the Uncle.
Yes, sir.
That would be badass. Write it down. And then we have, rounding out the cast, as Miss July 1989. Erica Elaniak as Jordan Tate.
Yes.
She was the pretty girl, cast as the pretty girl in Elliot's science class in E.T.
Yeah, the girl that Elliot kissed in class.
She was several seasons of Baywatch. And she was Ellie Mae in the Beverly Hillbillies film adaptation with Jim Varney.
I never watched that, but I saw that. I was like, oh, that was like a
I remember when that came out.
I don't know how well it did. I never saw it.
I think it was a commercial success because they were like counting on people to be like, holy shit,
It's
Ernest is in this movie?
Absolutely.
And it's like, yeah, people went to it. Is Dietrich Bader in that movie? I feel like he is.
Yes, he's Jethro.
He's Jethro.
Yeah.
And there we go. 20 minutes in, we've rounded out the backstory of this movie.
That's okay, though.
How does this song go?
This movie keeps it moving, though.
It really does. It cooks from start to the first 3 parts of it that I've watched.
So I'll pick us up. It opens with the Warner Brothers animation that tends to denote quality.
That's right.
It's aerial shots of a naval battleship, the USS Missouri, which was real footage of the real USS Missouri, this stuff. I think it was filmed just prior to the ship being decommissioned, which happened like at the very beginning of production. So it was really like grounded in a real life thing that was happening.
We'll talk in a moment about this like very famous battleship.
Absolutely.
Super famous.
So in the command center of the ship, we hear that they're approaching Pearl Harbor. Sailors and officers are bustling around.
Can we call them seamen?
Yes. they're absolutely, I insist. These dudes, though, they're bustling around. They're doing just generic naval shit.
I'm going to flip this switch and keep walking, looking at the radar.
Looking at the radar or talking on the radio.
I was really disappointed that there was never a... You're like, oh, little... nobody blew the whistle.
Down in the galley, there's Chief Petty Officer Casey Ryback. That's Steven Seagal. He's walking through. He's out of uniform. There's a dude named Tackman down there, played by Damian Chapa.
That's Ken from Street Fighter,
that is
bitches. The
only other thing I've ever personally seen him in.
Yeah, same.
And I don't know how he got that role as Ken. He was riding high on the role of Tackman.
Yeah.
From Under Siege.
Like, hey, do you know karate or a martial art? Well, no. Doesn't matter.
I can tell you, you're not going to hear the name Tackman again, though, because he's either going to, I'm going to either call him Ken or he's Damian Chapa.
That's fine.
Like,
yeah, 100%.
This movie has got too many names.
Yeah.
There's too many last names mentioned.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. He basically, this Chapa is telling him, hey, we're presenting for the president today. You're supposed to be in your dress whites. Ryback says, the president's not going to miss me. Whatever. Some other officers try to give him a hard time, but he's got wisecracks at the ready. We're supposed to like him.
Yeah. He's well respected by the rank and file.
I don't know that he makes one funny joke, though, this whole movie. He makes a lot of jokes, but I don't know that they're funny.
But also he makes jokes that were like, is that a joke?
Or were you just doing a weird voice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was the rest? There was no setup. He just says, and then she said, when we guns bang.
That'll has to be for another podcast. That old story.
That old chestnut.
So we got some more aerial shots of the Missouri. We get Cole Meany got a sweet on-screen credit as the dolphins were jumping out of the water.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. They got the ship with the dolphins.
Did you get excited when you saw Cole Meany's name?
I was very excited. So we should mention, this was a blind taste test for me. I think that at most I saw this like walking through the living room on the way to do something else, like on the TV.
I don't know how you missed this one.
I've never seen this movie
This was
before.
ubiquitous. This was like because it's legitimately like pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like everyone taught, hey, have you seen Under Siege? Yeah. I never have. Never got around to it. It's like one of the, I never got around to seeing the Eiffel Tower while I was in Paris.
Yeah. It even holds up, I feel like. It's like still solid viewing.
Yep.
So in the captain's quarters, we got Captain Adams. He's speaking on the phone to somebody who is higher up the chain of command.
Yeah.
He's oddly holding the phone like several inches away from his face, which is like, I don't know if that's not to smudge the makeup or if that's how he talks on the phone.
Just doesn't want to hear their voice in his ear.
I also feel like every old school military man in movies has that same fucking voice.
Where is
that? In my notes.
They sound like old school movie stars. I
wrote that he sounds like Tom Bodette. Like Motel 6, we'll leave the light on for you.
Well, wow.
Or he's Shane from the Shane Company.
Tom Shane.
Now you've got a friend in the diamond business.
Well, now you've got a friend in the jewelry business.
I haven't heard the reason.
The Shane Company. West on Windy Hill.
Turn right at the Big Chicken. That's for Atlanta people.
That's right. I have always wanted to buy a piece of jewelry from the Shane Company just to finally be like, I've done it.
Now you've got a friend in the diamond business.
I'm Tom Shane. Every year we make a trip to Antwerp.
Okay. The room, the captain's quarters, is filled with the ship's commanding officers, including Commander Krill. That's Gary Busey, we just mentioned.
Who lives at a pineapple under the sea?
Yes. He is the ship's XO. That means executive officer and second in command. Busey looked pretty sharp in the dress uniform, I thought. Like, I'm like, oh, damn.
This is not Pappas Busey. No. This is like svelte Busey.
So the captain, he hangs up the phone. He laments that the ceremony is turning into a zoo.
Mm-hmm.
There's a knock at the door. Someone announces that Chief Ryback is here to see the captain. So Ryback walks on in. Krill and Ryback are immediately exchanging hostile looks.
Like, whoa, okay, easy.
Instant animosity. So obviously Krill is going to be in some way a bad guy or an antagonist.
Like before that, it's like, I don't know, this guy might be on the up and up. Yeah.
He's the XO.
Yeah.
But the captain says he wants Ryback in his dress uniform for the ceremony. Ryback protests.
Sir, you know how I feel about ceremonies.
The chief is like, if I had your ribbons, I'd wear them to bed. The captain interrupts. So Ryback is obviously some sort of a hotshot.
Right.
How
that's not picked
being said directly
by anyone else in the room.
It's being said directly in front of Krill.
Right.
Okay. Remember that.
Yeah.
The chief tells him
he's just a cook, plain and simple.
Go get in your whites. I'll see if I can introduce you to the president. Again, obviously there's something special going on with this guy. He wants to get him a personal meet and greet with the president.
Like, I have too much to do. Sir, I got a bouillabaisse.
Krill doesn't like that idea and just says so.
Yeah, sir,
I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
The fuck? You're questioning the captain in front of everyone? But Ryback says, well, for once, himself and Krill are in agreement. Krill's eavesdropping like a motherfucker on that conversation, but also he's openly second-guessing your commanding officers, like not a thing that is done.
Nope.
I don't think. So Ryback says, I got a lot of prep to do ahead of the captain's birthday the next day.
The captain's like, my birthday?
My birthday?
He'd forgotten.
He's got 50,
yes, sir.
He's got 50 gallons of bouillabaisse he needs to make. I suppose I could do the cheeseburger routine. The fuck? I don't know. But the captain quickly shoots that down. He's like, no, it's not for me. The crew, they love that stuff.
We want the bouillabaisse, baby. We want the seafood, you son of a bitch.
They go nuts for it. There's no ship full of enlisted men anywhere in the world that would prefer bouillabaisse to a cheeseburger.
I don't know if it's good bouillabaisse.
I mean, yeah, but these guys aren't elevated. This is not Top Chef.
That's
Maybe
true.
he does make a good bouillabaisse, but I just feel like if you're talking about like, Joe Cheeseburger or whatever.
But also
Joe
we don't know how long. We don't know how long these guys have been on the ship and getting used to Ryback's food.
They like that. Is
Chef
Ryback supposed to be like Cajun or something? Creole?
Maybe. Yeah, that would make sense.
I don't know. At any rate, the captain reluctantly agrees. Tells him, all right, well, keep out of sight until after the ceremony.
It's weird. He's like, he just moments ago was like, I want you to meet the president. Now he's like, don't show your face.
Don't be seen.
It's weird.
So the captain lovingly tells Ryback that you're a sorry-looking sailor. He's like, well, that I am, sir.
That I am, sir.
Ryback leaves, again exchanging evil eyes with Krill.
Everyone simmer down now.
Does that work for you, just that these two dudes just don't like each other? No explanation needed.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay. I wasn't sure how that works.
Yeah.
To a first-time adult viewer.
But like watching it immediately, like this movie gives a lot away, in my opinion.
Yeah. Just that they don't make
they're
Krill
not
out to be like
there are not a lot of surprises.
A superior soldier or anything like that.
There's no conflict, I will say. It's just like it's very
He's
black
a bad
and white.
guy.
Yeah.
We've known that from the first time that he.
But that's the thing. When I
in the same
first
room.
saw him, I was like, "Oh, is Gary Busey a good guy or bad guy?" And then I was like, "Oh no!" Immediately, like as soon as the main character walks in, I was like, "Oh, he's a piece of shit bad guy," or he's going to be like
your antagonist
anti-hero
boss guy, like your straight shooter, like by the numbers guy.
He's going to be John McGinley in Point Break.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's either going to be your antagonistic superior or a straight up bad guy.
Yeah. Pencil pusher.
You've been pushing too many pencils? I just love that. A pencil pusher.
Look at that arm. No, he hasn't just been pushing
too many pencils. Just make it easy on yourself, Dutch. Give it up, Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
I love Predator.
Yeah,
anyway, okay.
Bucks.
So, Commander Krill tells the captain, I don't understand.
His name is so stupid.
I don't understand why you tolerate that clown.
I don't understand why you tolerate that clown.
Again, questioning your commanding officer's wisdom in front of everyone.
I know you think he's a good cook.
He's more than a good cook. You have no idea. No, just let him be.
He calls him, now let him be, XO. It's like,
we'll leave the light on for you.
No one has ever said, no one's ever called someone XO.
I don't know.
Wouldn't they just say, like, his rank, Commander Krill, or just call him
I
by
don't know.
XO?
I'm trying to think about the only other movie where XO was a big deal was on Crimson Tide.
There are a lot of things in this movie that I second guess, but then after a little bit of research, I was like, this movie is right on.
I could see it.
It's weird to call him XO, but I don't know. Maybe it's not.
But we have to remember these moments for later on.
Yeah.
The three things. Captain insinuated that Ryback has a lot of decorations.
Right.
He wanted to personally introduce him to the president.
Right.
And there's more to him than meets the eye.
More than meets the eye.
That's happened in like 30 seconds here, all right in front of Krill.
Robots in disguise.
So we see the Missouri pulling into Pearl Harbor. A fucking amazing production value.
Yeah, with all the crew
just shooting
on deck.
the real shit. It like looks like this movie cost a fortune.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But I think they were just picking that stuff off. But yeah, that was the real USS Missouri. Then the stuff on board the ship, I think, was filmed on the USS Alabama, which is like docked in Mobile.
Yeah.
But I've
seen that boat.
Another similar class of battleship, which just you can't fake that like a real battleship. We hear a newscast saying that it's the 50th anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attack. We get a little history lesson about the USS Missouri.
The Japanese surrendered on that ship's deck.
That's fucking amazing, dude.
After the U.S. bombed Hiroshima, the Missouri also fired the first shots of the Gulf War.
Imagine that ship had a hell of a lifespan, dude.
Yeah.
From World War II to the Persian Gulf. Amazing to me.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
President Bush is there. He's coming. And Barbara, Babs.
Who could not help but sort of look at the camera while she's walking in.
I feel like they just must have had the film crew there to film some B-roll at this real ceremony, because I think this was the real decommissioning of the Missouri.
Agreed.
But so, they're at Pearl Harbor. They're going to decommission the ship. Down in the galley, Ryback and others, they're watching on TV. He's got Raymond Cruz there as Ramirez.
Mm-hmm.
It's Tuco.
We'll just call him Tuco.
They call him Tuco. Yeah. They're busy cooking the food. Ryback makes a joke that makes no sense, but the guys love it.
It's like he makes a joke about some Creole or something.
Yeah,
like
do you hear the time that Andre and Boudreaux went hunt down on the bayou? Where's the guns? That was the joke.
There's something missing.
Was that the whole thing?
There's a part of the joke missing.
These guys are lapping it up like a bowl of Ryback's bouillabaisse. We see the President Bush and the First Lady there arriving. The newscast says the next day the ship's going to set sail for San Francisco, where it will have all of its weapons removed.
Mm-hmm.
Even that stuff they're mentioning about like that President Bush has ordered that there's to be no more nuclear weapons on surface ships is like completely accurate. That was what was happening in 1991. I was like, oh damn, this is when you sort of ground a movie.
That's a move of good faith.
Yeah. I think they're like, we'll keep it on subs.
Collapsing
it's
again.
all on subs from now on.
Yeah. We're
not getting rid of it. It's harder to
find
seize
them.
and take control of
you
a sub.
You don't know where our missiles are.
But I do think that sort of grounding the movie in such a real world setting, it plays better. Like,
it helps.
It
have Bush on camera reading his speech.
And it helps you, I think, get away with more outrageous shit later because you've sort of given us a real world setup. Now, Bush is making the speech while in the background, every deck of the ship is populated with these sailors in their dress whites. Also,
Ryback, though.
Sitting right there to the left of Bush was fucking Dick Cheney.
Woo!
Evil motherfucker, man.
He's like, we never got Iraq, so we need to
he was already planning the next.
He was like, we need to go back.
We got to go back, sir. Yeah. So Ryback seems put off by this whole charade while he's expertly chopping the carrots up. So at dawn of the next day, I guess, the captain's given the command that we're going to set sail Ship chugs on out through the open ocean.
I love B-roll of the ship.
Yeah, man, it looks great, dude. An officer informs the captain it's going to be smooth sailing all the way to port.
That dude's got the largest binoculars in history.
The captain's?
No,
or the other
officer.
Dude?
They're enormous.
Well, you got to see. He can see all the way to San Francisco.
You recognize that dude?
No.
That's Bernie Casey. He was the teacher in Bill and Ted, and also was the head of the black fraternity, the Delta, or no, Trilam. Trilam. Is that what it was? In Revenge of the Nerds?
Oh, I never saw it.
You never saw it? It's Trilams.
Okay.
In Revenge of the Nerds.
No, never did see it.
It was like the all-black fraternity that the nerds ended up joining, and he was like the head of the fraternity that came to their party.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude tells us it's going to be smooth sailing all the way to the port, so it's going to be a boring movie, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And the credits roll.
Now, down below, we got Ensign Taylor. He's instructing a sailor that there's going to be an unscheduled helicopter landing on the deck later that day. Mm-hmm. That sailor's like bucking at this, saying the captain's got to okay all landings, but Taylor says, well, this is the captain's surprise party.
Doesn't matter. Then I bet you $1 million that would not be allowed.
You think? Yeah, you can't just abandon protocols.
No. We're going to bring in there's no fucking way. On a nuclear ship? No. That's not happening. So what's a surprise party?
The sailor, he wants to know what's on the helicopter that's so important. And Taylor just produces a Playboy magazine. I don't know where it came from, a pocket or something.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's got an issue of Playboy out. He's saying that's Miss July in 1989. Jordan Tate. She's going to pop out of the cake. The sailor's looking. He's like, oh, we'll be ready for her. He's fucking suddenly horny.
Yeah.
The guy instantly.
Shit. I'm into this white lady with no ass.
So Taylor's like, you go ahead and keep that, and leaves him with the magazine. Did you recognize the Playboy cover? I didn't look close enough. It was the same issue that Buzz McAllister had in Home Alone.
That's badass.
Yeah, probably because it was like a sort of a G-rated cover, essentially. Mm-hmm. Also interesting is that the real life first of all, that magazine is the real July 1989 issue.
Okay.
And Erica Eleniak, who we haven't seen yet in the movie, but she was the real Miss July 1989 in Playboy.
Get the fuck out. There you go.
So she's in that exact issue of the magazine.
This movie is rooted in reality.
Yes. Also, can we take a moment to acknowledge the fact that a person used to have to go and buy a print magazine if they wanted to see a naked woman? That's amazing to me.
Used to cost money.
Blast from the past.
Yeah, for sure.
Elsewhere on the ship, Krill is butting heads with another officer. It seems as though Krill is ordering that all the duties that are not like absolutely crucial be suspended during the party so the sailors can attend.
Yeah, the officer's like, we don't have time to talk about the security of nuclear weapons.
Right. He's saying, including, I want the Marines that are tasked with the security of the nuclear arsenal to be at the party.
This would send up all kinds of red flags.
Agreed.
Yeah.
There's nothing suspicious about this at all, right? The officer's saying, like, look, we're already got a skeleton crew. And Krill's like, well, that's an order. And
we just saw this same plan in the Andor series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I only want a skeleton crew.
Yes. Let's strip it all the way down.
Everyone else can come down to the party.
So the officer's like, well, that's unsafe, and I'm going to put a note in the ship's log that I'm obeying under protest. Krill's like, fine. He walks away, leaves the officer there shaking his head. I would hope that when it comes to the security of nuclear weapons, there's certain protocols that will not be abandoned. No matter, nobody can order that I don't do this.
It's a surprise party. Oh, I don't care.
Nobody with the president can order me to not follow these rules.
Yep, 100%.
So down in the galley, Ryback is telling a sailor known as Q-Ball to show him some moves. And Q-Ball starts a little brief dance-off with Ryback to the beat of I've Got the Power by Snap.
Good jam.
German dance music group, which I didn't know, but that was what a song of its time.
Yeah,
it was like you want to think about like jock jams. So, Ensign Taylor and another officer show up to break up the party. Taylor and Ryback are immediately like needling each other.
I'd say to his credit, Taylor tries to like follow decorum by calling Ryback sir.
No, he was, I think, prompting that Ryback should call him sir.
Oh. I thought it was the other way around.
Even though...
Because Ryback was a chief, and Taylor's an ensign.
But the lowest commissioned officer technically outranks, like, the highest non-commissioned officer.
you leave all this in because I was all wrong. But
no,
man, that's interesting.
It's from what I read, like the politics of the scene are spot on. That no ensign would ever walk in, or no ensign who's in his right mind would ever like try to show up a chief, because that's like a dude. You know, it's like you remember in Platoon, the lieutenant shows up, but it's like Sergeant Elias and Sergeant Barnes.
Yeah,
those are the dudes who have the respect of the men, and they're like, you know, we'll humor you, Lieutenant, by letting you think you're in charge. But that's my understanding.
That's the dynamic. Okay.
Yeah. So my understanding was that Taylor was sort of digging at that Ryback for not calling him sir.
Gotcha. But then Ryback's like, it's unnecessary. We're casual down here in the galley.
He's like, I'd watch it, Ryback, because we still have a week together. And Ryback says, I guess that means I won't get to see you go through puberty. It's a sick fucking
That dude
burn.
Taylor was on 24.
Yeah, I recognize him from a lot of stuff. He's been acting for a while. But the men all are like...
Sick burn, dude.
Yeah, in theory, this is supposed to be some fresh kid, like, straight from the Naval Academy, which this dude Taylor didn't seem young.
He might be a Robert Duvall type, where he's probably he's 25, but looks 60.
Yeah. But so... your chief petty officer, that's like a high-ranking non-commissioned officer. An ensign technically outranks them, but you'd have to be a fucking psychopath, I think, to try to challenge a dude who's a 40-year-old man, you know, who's like the highest high as you can rise being a non-commissioned.
Right.
There's an animosity between a low-ranking academy man,
blue collar and white collar,
and a high-ranking enlisted man.
Gotcha.
But Taylor says, I got orders from Krill that the captain's birthday dinner is being flown in from Hawaii, so the galley is to be cleared, and all the sailors are to report to the mess hall whenever the helicopter arrives for the party. Ryback says, I'm the only one who cooks for the captain on this ship, and if you don't like it, you know, you take it up with the captain. Maybe he's just being territorial, but I feel like having a night off would be welcome.
Yeah, be like, sweet, let's party.
Let's fucking party, bros.
Well, maybe he cherishes the captain's birthday above all other days.
He does have love for the captain, because the captain and they have a special relationship.
Like Britain and the U.S.
Yes. I'm damn sure the rest of the cooks would like to have a night off from cooking for like hundreds of men. I wonder
50 if gallons of bouillabaisse.
I wonder if dudes get days off while they're at sea.
Sure they do.
Do you get like, this is my day off?
Yeah, it's like...
Well, I mean, like, do you work a 5-day week, or are you working every day when you're deployed?
Like while you're at sea?
Yeah, when you're at sea. Is it like, are I working a 40-hour week?
That's a good question. I'm sure that they must have days off. They must have rotations and stuff.
Yeah.
They have to.
Ryan, who assembled the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network, he's a sailor in the Canadian Navy.
Huh.
So, Ryan, if you're listening, let us know.
Well, I'm
curious.
My first boss in the advertising world was a
Navy man?
Former cryptographer. Cryptologist?
So. Is that like decoding messages and stuff like that?
In the Navy. So I should ask him, which is crazy because he's fucking 6'5". Can you imagine being 6'5" on a boat like this?
In a sub or whatever, you're like cramped. Yeah, no doubt.
Cryptologist. I need to ask him like what the deal was with like rotations for duties and stuff.
Let's do it. So Taylor says it's a surprise party. No one's going to talk to the captain about it.
I feel like none of this would be like allowed to happen in real life.
I give kudos to that actor. I feel like he was slaying an authentic Southern accent.
That's the way that dude talks.
Do you think that's the real voice?
In everything I've ever seen him in, that's how he talks. That's just him talking.
So Ryback is like, the captain doesn't like surprises, and neither do I. And he says, well, then I guess we'll just see what we'll see, won't we? Which that was a great delivery. The tone, everything about it was like authentic Southern guy.
I guess we'll just see what we see.
Well, I guess we'll just see what we'll see, won't we? So he walks off. Ryback like nodding smugly at him. All the sailors are like, ooh. The Taylor leaves the galley. Ryback's mocking him. Well, I guess we'll just see what we'll see. Huge laughs.
That's where I feel like Seagal is not 100% terrible. He's maybe
that made you chuckle.
This whole thing where he's doing the Taylor voice was funny to me.
So then Raymond Cruz, Tuco, tells Ryback, the Krill's going to skin you alive, and Ryback just kind of shrugs it off. Ryback is continuing, though, now with the faux Southern accent. I guess trying to, to me, it's like this is Seagal trying to fake having a personality.
Right. I've seen people act like this before.
What is it about that just gives me a fear deep in my heart?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, where are you supposed to? What is your deal, Ryback? Where'd you come from? You're an enigma, just like fucking Seagal. But now Ryback picks up a knife and chucks it into this like cutting board. I guess they have set up across the galley as a bullseye or whatever.
Chefs do that.
Do they?
No,
I don't know.
It's in that's from Long Kiss Goodnight.
Oh yes,
She plays the knife. Chefs do that.
Totally, dude.
Yeah, same gag.
Absolutely. So we see he's got knife skills. Not sure why there's the throwing knife just lying around on the counter, but anyway.
Just in case you need it.
So meanwhile, Krill, he's been summoned to the captain's quarters. Captain has become aware that Krill is trying to sneak a helicopter landing past him, wants to know what all the insubordination is about.
What's all this highly illegal activity? Yes. Like why not send him immediately to the brig?
So Krill says the admiral, which is the captain's boss, has wanted to thank him for how well the ceremony went, and they're flying in a birthday surprise. The captain seems pleased to hear that the admiral was happy and wants a party.
If there are titties, then bring on the titties.
The admiral wants a party. I guess we're having a party.
Okay.
The captain orders that all off-duty personnel should attend, but security patrols and everything else remain by the book. That flies in the face of what Krill's been ordering elsewhere. The Krill suggests that since the admiral was hoping, to surprise him, maybe you should stay in your quarters here until we come to get you. And the captain goes along with it. I'll be engrossed in a novel. We'll leave the light off. Now you've got a friend in the diamond business.
I'll be engrossed in a novel.
I wonder what he's reading. Some Tom Clancy shit. Maybe.
Probably.
I don't know. So, cut to a Chinook helicopter flying in. On board, we got a motley crew of cooks, caterers.
Cole
Meany's there. Miss July is there. Erica Elaniak. Several dudes dressed like rockers led by Stranix, Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee looks like Keith Richards.
Business is starting to pick up. I know you were excited when you saw Cole Meany.
I was super excited.
Yeah. Down in the galley of the ship, Ryback is stirring that bouillabaisse while the pies are being slid into the oven. An angry Krill and Taylor and a couple of Marines show up. Krill says, you men are under orders to be at the mess deck for the party. And I like that it's you've got orders to go up there and party, man. The guys
Get
are
up there and party, motherfucker.
I command you to party. But that's why I don't
sounds
get
like the beginning of a rap video too. I command you to party.
Or Beastie Boys shit.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like a Beastie Boys song.
So Ryback approaches him ominously, and Krill orders him to stand fast. You stand fast. Krill orders everybody but Ryback get to the mess deck. So the room empties out. Krill gives the bouillabaisse a sniff and says it smells like a lard omelet.
What the fuck? What?
It's an odd insult. I feel like that came straight from the deranged mind of Gary Busey.
Yeah. No one directed that. No one wrote it down on paper.
So now, why was there a pile of 10 different types of loaves of bread in the background? I mean, the props department was going fucking nuts on this shit.
We got $70 extra. We
got 10
all
different
the bread you can find.
All the variety of bread you can find.
Well, that's for dipping in the bouillabaisse.
Of course, but there was pita bread, there was French, there was baguettes, there was a poppy seed.
These men want for nothing, Kevin. No expense was spared.
You would have 100 loaves of the same shit, though. I feel sure.
Not for the captain's birthday.
That's true. It is the captain's birthday.
You want pita? You get pita.
We didn't take.
You want rye? You get rye.
The Krill tells Ryback,
I want that country loaf. French country loaf.
Krill tells Ryback, I put up with a lot of shit from you because the captain likes you, but the captain can't save you this time.
Save you from what?
I don't know.
What's
happening?
The
wrath of Krill. He hawks a disgusting loogie into the bouillabaisse, and it says to give it a little flavor.
It's so over the top, like a truck.
It was
like a machine.
Like a machine. Like a truck.
It's like the face he was making, like the lengths that he went through to hawk it up.
Chewing it.
He went way back to get it.
I feel like Busey loogies are probably 50% cocaine.
Yeah.
Like it's all coming out of the sinuses, right?
That's amazing.
Ryback is pissed and he steps towards Krill.
Krill's like, you like that?
Yeah. Ryback shoves Krill and Taylor's like, that's striking an officer. He says, that's not striking an officer. That's striking an officer, and just fucking lays
and drills
Krill
him
out.
in the face.
Krill goes down with a massive cut on his cheek. The Marines try to subdue Ryback, but it seems like Ryback's capable of taking on all four of them.
Pushing guys down and grabbing them by the thumb.
By the
and
wrist,
forcing
they just
them.
instantly crumple.
Yeah.
So Ryback, he quickly, though, diffuses the situation, signals like, hey, I don't want to fight. They handcuff him. Taylor orders Ryback be thrown in the brig. Ryback says, no one goes in the brig without the captain's signature or whatever. So they halt that. Krill says, you're right. Tells him to lock him in the meat locker instead.
Okay.
Krill drops a massively homophobic remark that will not make the podcast.
I was like, damn.
Like, God damn.
I was not expecting that.
It was a different time. It was an effective delivery of the line, but repulsive.
But also, wrong, because Krill had a big-ass cut on his face.
It does.
He was bleeding
He did.
From a cut on his face from someone punching him. So definitely not what Krill said it was. It was much more severe. Not, anyway, than he was connoting.
Right. So Krill orders young Private Nash to stand guard over the refrigerator door.
That dude was also in The Fugitive.
He was.
Yeah.
He was Newman.
Yeah. You get the gun fired right next to his ear.
Yeah. So he's telling him, Ryback is an extreme psychopath. He
hates officers. He hates America.
He's not one of those moderate psychopaths you hear about. He's an extreme psychopath.
Isn't it funny? Even back then, it's like, well, he's extreme.
He's an extreme psychopath. He hates officers. He hates America. Sounds plausible.
Yeah.
This is the captain's birthday. I do not want him ruining it. No one is going to speak to him. No one is to speak to him. No one is to let him out. If he tries to escape, you shoot him right here and taps him right in the forehead.
Hard on the forehead.
Which I know that fucking got your dander up.
I was like, ooh. As soon as he did, I was like, I would have been court-martialed immediately. I was like, don't you touch me.
Yeah, he tells him, I'm counting on you, sailor, or whatever. Krill snaps his fingers, orders the rest of the men to follow him. They leave Nash there alone. Nash looks rattled. Yeah, I can't help but think about him in The Fugitive.
Yeah.
He was the one where Tommy Lee Jones is like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm thinking. He's like, well, why don't you go think me up a cup of coffee and a chocolate donut with some of the little sprinkles on it, as long as you're thinking. I love that shit. Now, back on the chopper, Stranix is just riffing, I feel like, to Jordan Tate, Miss July, about how great he thinks it is that we're being allowed to entertain the sailors. I feel like
he loves the country.
He's fucking amped up living that rock and roll life. Jordan, who seems disinterested, says she just hopes she doesn't throw up. Rock music fucking blasts on the helicopter as it comes in for landing.
It seems out of place, that music.
You'll be pleased to know that the song is called Whiskey Fever. The band is called The Regulators. But it sounds like knockoff Aerosmith or something to me. Now, it sets down with a jolt. Stranix is loving it. The sailors have all come topside to watch the arrival
of Miss July.
Word has spread around the ship really quick.
Titties!
Titties! There's lots of hooting and hollering as Jordan steps off the chopper. Krill is there to greet them, and he escorts her and the others aboard. Somehow, there's a live video feed of the arrival being shown on TVs throughout the ship, including in the laundry, where the very horny Ken
from Street Fighter,
he is stroking the TV screen
physically with his hand,
and it was just an extreme close up of her
future
breasts.
wife, Sammy Lee. She's landed, and then Sammy Lee says, "The bunny's landed."
How is this happening? Where was the cameraman?
No one knows.
There's a TV studio on the ship?
I don't know. It's CCTV. Yeah, I think so.
But so the sailors, they're all off running out of the laundry to try to catch a glimpse of her in person. Down in the galley, Ryback is yelling through the door to Nash that it sure is strange that Krill locked me in this refrigerator instead of putting me in the brig.
It is very suspicious.
He's like, I'm not listening to you. Krill is escorting Jordan past these dozens of leering sailors on the mess deck, asking her how she's feeling. Every dude was looking at her like she was a piece of meat.
Yep.
That was funny. The one dude in the background was up on a table or something and fell down off the table. Whoa! I feel like it should have been a Wilhelm scream there. She says she feels queasy.
Yeah.
Stranix, he comes in fucking amped up, chugging along like a little locomotive with tooting on a harmonica.
Insane.
This is a different Tommy Lee Jones than I'm used to seeing.
Yeah.
He's not surly and grumpy Tommy Lee Jones,
Two-Face.
Yes, Two-Face. Anyway, Krill asks if he needs help.
It's so funny. He's like, Krill's like, are you lost? And Stranger's like, no. Where do you want us? Over here. And then Krill's like, is the bed set up? And then Stranger's like, yeah, the bed's set up.
What?
He's like, wait a minute, which is it? Music is my life.
Music is my life, sir. Krill gives Jordan some pills that's supposed to help her with the motion sickness, directs her back to where she should go and change clothes and get into the big cake, I guess. In the background, we can see that
he'd already directed her to go change clothes at one point. Now she's reappeared. Now he's like, now go over here and change clothes. It's like, okay.
In the background, they're like assembling the big cake, which makes me wonder, is that like a trope that people are aware of still? Is that still a thing popping out of the cake? I
don't know. That's a good question.
It seems so like 50s and 60s, like Mad Men era thing.
I don't know that it happens at all anymore.
Yeah.
You just hire a stripper.
Now, Krill says he's going to go and get into his own party dress, and he leaves Jordan. Strannik seems to offend her by telling her, don't worry, you could do this with your eyes shut.
Like, okay.
Uh-huh. She seems generally unhappy to be doing this kind of work.
Yeah,
Which seems understandable, actually. Now, back in the galley, Ryback is telling Nash, you're going to wind up in the brig for following Krill's orders. And then he's like, oh, go get my pies out of the oven.
Yeah, so some of the stuff that he says is funny, but it's like...
But it's because it's good writing.
Yeah.
And it's a decent delivery. Yeah. I'll give... That was one of the...
decent. Decent is the best. At his best, he's decent.
That was one of the stronger line readings from Seagal in the movie. There.
Agreed.
Now, Jordan Tate, who appears to be in a fucking janitor's closet, is looking at herself in the mirror, tells herself she must have been crazy to take this job, which... We haven't gotten to this part yet, but some shit's about to happen on this boat. Not to spoil anything, but everything's a ruse. So it makes me wonder, why would they have hired a real stripper?
Yeah.
Like, what is she doing here?
They couldn't have, recruited a bad stripper, an evil stripper?
An evil stripper.
Yeah.
I like that.
Elizabeth Hurley from Passenger 57?
Yes. But I guess it's just
she wasn't available.
Sell it?
Yeah.
I don't know. But so she shakes way too many pills out of the bottle.
She's like, I'm feeling very sick. Very sick.
Now, in the mess hall, Stranix and the band are getting warmed up with some blues rock. The caterers are setting up the meal. Everyone's in a great mood.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Yeah. As this episode winds down, we see that the caterers and other service staff setting up the meal also are all wearing earpieces.
Normal.
Yeah.
Normal.
Totally
shit.
normal.
You never know.
Yeah.
You might have to. We need immediately.
We need you to get back up here and get some more hors d'oeuvres.
We need more canapé.
More pigs and blankets. Immediately.
Okay.
Stat.
That's part one. I feel like we really rambled, but we appreciate you sticking with us.
We know you enjoyed it.
This movie I like this movie.
Yeah,
I have strong nostalgia for it, and it holds up.
I enjoyed it while watching it. I will say that on my first go through, I was never like.
I hate myself. For
no,
watching
never.
it.
No, I'm liking it so far.
That's what we like to hear. So yeah, I love it. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, you guys.
Check us out next week.
We'll be back.